What is up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. If you guys like the videos, make sure you guys are hitting the subscribe button, the like button, give me a thumbs up, and the notification bell, that way you guys know when I'm getting when I'm uploading videos and stuff like that. I wanted to talk a little bit today about some of the bikes that I've owned in the past, and also I want to kind of share a little bit of a story with you guys about an accident that I had on a motorcycle. So first of all, the most recent bike that I owned was a 2003 Yamaha V-Star 650. It was a good bike for what it was. And I bought it after my accident. They always say that, if you have an accident, the very first thing you need to do, if you can, and you're not injured, like severely injured, get back on the bike. Get back on a bike and you'll be fine. But a little story behind that. The Yamaha V-Star 650, I rode it quite a bit, and I actually sold it to my brother-in-law. I'm not sure what it's doing now, where it's at now, or if it's being sold, or if it's being kept, in a shed somewhere out of the weather. I don't know. I haven't seen it in 2 years. But it was a really, really good bike, and I'll put that up on the screen right now so you guys can see it. But basically, between that bike and the next bike that I'm going to show you, those two bikes were really, really great bikes. Let's see. So the next bike I'm going to show you is a '97 Honda CBR 600 F3. This bike, it didn't scare me. And that's, generally a lot of people, when they go and look at motorcycles and stuff online or whatever, or, they go to a dealership and they're looking around for a bike, and this is a crotch rocket, guys. This bike will get up and go. It's one of those that, you should be scared of it, but if you've ridden bikes, all your life, you're not going to be afraid of it at all. I think it was my brother-in-law's brother-in-law. Is it brother-in-law? Father-in-law. My brother-in-law's son-in-law is the one that told me. He says, "Man, that thing's gyrating." He says, "That scares the crap out of me." But yeah, it didn't scare me at all. And then the next bike that I'm going to show you is a 79 Yamaha XS1100 Special. Really, really great bike, guys. I love this bike to death. It was shaft driven, just like the V-Star, shaft drive. Really great bike. It had 4-barrel carburetors, 4 carburetors, not 4 barrels, 4 carburetors, and every single one of those carburetors, of course, had to be synced with each other. And before I actually took the trip with this bike, and this is the accident story that I'm going to share with you guys. Before I took the trip with this bike, I had it pre-inspected, had some boots changed out and things like that on the carburetors, and the tires, the brakes. They checked the top end of the bike to make sure that all the pistons and things were really good. Make sure my pistons weren't getting hammered by the the spark plugs were too long or anything like that. I actually had that happen to me on I want to say it was a 90. Man, what was it? A 90. It was a 95 or 90. I think it was a 95 250 Yamaha 250 Exciter. but unfortunately the engine that was on that chassis was not the right engine for it. So when I went to the dealership to get the spark plug that I needed for that bike, the spark plug was too long and it beat the hell out of that piston. It was a single piston bike. But yeah, it was bad. It was bad. And then I've also owned a it was a Suzuki I want to say GSF 600. But that was a long time ago, and I owned that bike after I bought the Exciter. Which, to be honest with you guys, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, the GSF model of Suzuki's, excuse me, not a great bike at all. Really not a great bike. And the 250 Exciter was just something, it was kind of like a spontaneous thing. I really didn't need it. I actually needed a bigger bike. I really needed a bigger bike. But anyways, so the story goes like this. I was planning a trip from West Virginia to Texas, and the whole purpose of the trip was to go down to visit my son and visit a friend of mine. And you know, it took me about 18 hours to get down there. I didn't stay at any motels or anything. I rode the entire way. I had to start out with cold weather gear on. It was in the beginning of the spring. Rode with cold weather gear, you know, the first bit of it. Got down to Tennessee, took all my cold weather gear off, and from that point on, I mean, I was gone. And it was great. It really was great. It was one of the best rides I've ever taken in my life. But the bad thing, the seriously bad thing about getting down into places like around Fort Hood, Texas, and places like that, is the traffic, man. The traffic is freaking nuts down there. So I was coming back from visiting my son, and I wanted to go on to Fort Hood to see a friend of mine. And so I got to the gate, and they said, "Oh, well, you have to have a visitor's pass, of course, and you also have to have a reflective vest, or something reflective on, you know, on your upper torso." So I went to the visitor center. I got my pass, and the guy's like, "Well, you don't necessarily have to have a reflective vest, but we prefer it." So I got like 2 hours later. 2 hours later, I got my visitor's pass, and I was getting ready to go on post, and I got to the gate, and they're like, "Oh, well, where's your reflective vest?" And I'm like, the guy told me I didn't have to have one. They made me turn around anyways, and so I was pretty mad. Went back off post, or went back out the gate, and as I was going down to there was a local Army surplus store there, pretty close by, and I knew exactly where it was at. So I went down there, and I was getting ready to get a vest, and this guy pulled up on a motorcycle, and he had a spare one, and so he gave that to me, and I took it, and I was getting ready to go back on post. I had my reflective vest on, had my visitor's pass, and sure enough, man, it was like a 4-lane going down into a 2-lane, and then it goes down into a 1-lane when you're going into Fort Hood. And they only had, like, I think 2 spaces open in the gate. The rest of them were closed. That's the reason for the, you know, the shrinkage in lanes. So this lady was not paying attention, and the car in front of her, she was actually trying to get between me and another vehicle. And I looked down for a second, and I turned back like this to look behind me because I was changing lanes. and she was changing lanes at the same time as I was in front of me. And when I turned back around, she had actually stopped like midway through the lane. And that's when I hit the brakes. I barely even tapped her, but I went down. So, and as soon as I went down, like 10 soldiers, man, just came in, picked me up off the ground, picked the bike up off the ground, and it was bad. It was really bad, guys. You know, and you wouldn't think that, you know, at like 5-10 miles per hour that it would hurt going down that bad. It doesn't matter what speed you're going at. If you go down on a motorcycle, you're going to get some kind of road rash. You're going to get hurt some form or fashion. But I got some pictures that I'm gonna throw up on the screen right now to show you guys some of the damage that was taken. And then I put a headlight. I took the a headlight off of another Yamaha that I had to pay $60 for the freaking headlight, and I put it on this one, on this bike. And then I rode the bike all the way back from Texas to West Virginia that evening. So I mean, it was bad. And then on the way back, I had to stop outside of Tennessee, or inside of Tennessee, probably around Knoxville or someplace like that, because it was raining so bad that, and I didn't have the windshield from the fairing to protect me anymore. It was so bad. It was raining, and it was like really hard rain. And I had my protective gear, or my wet weather gear on, but it was still going. I mean, the water was still going right down into my crotch. My pants were wet. My shirt was wet. My boots were wet. I mean, and this is another thing, guys. This is something that, you know, a lot of people don't realize. You know, regardless of how much gear you have on, some way or another, if you go down, you're going to get hurt. It doesn't matter how much protective gear you have on your hands, you know, within your boots, your pants. It doesn't matter. I actually had chaps on, leather chaps on, and I can tell you right now that the leather chaps, they really don't help that much. Pants really don't help that much. Boots really don't help that much. Long sleeves on a shirt, a really heavy duty shirt, or you know, something light enough to where you're actually, you know, cool while you're riding it, really doesn't help that much. A helmet is the only thing, the only important thing, you know, as far as your gear goes. Your hands, your legs, your arms, your feet, really, to be honest with you, doesn't make that much of a difference. Now, the helmet makes absolutely all the difference when it comes to an accident. When I went down, my head, my helmet, I had a full face helmet. It went down onto the pavement. So if I had not had my helmet on, then sure enough, I probably would have gone away with some brain damage, even though I've already got brain damage anyways, from being a tanker all those years, you know, for 8 years. But still, that's besides the point. But yeah, the most important piece of your equipment is your head. And you know, you don't want to injure that in any kind of accident. You really don't. Concussion is not fun at all. The helmet saved me. I'll put it that way, because I'm sure that if either I would have probably, you know, got a concussion or passed out, or you know, had something happen to where my head hit, you know, hard enough, I probably could have died. And I wasn't even going that fast, 5-10 miles per hour. So it matters, guys. The helmet does matter. As far as the rest of the gear goes, pants, a shirt, maybe a pair of gloves, some really comfortable riding boots or shoes, you know, something that, you know, that doesn't have any shoestrings on it or anything like that, boot strings, boot straps. As long as you've got something that's not going to get entangled, you know, in your forward controls or your foot controls or anything like that, then, you know, you should be fine. But I just kind of wanted to share that with you guys, let you guys know that here pretty soon I want to be doing some some actual vlogging. I'm actually going to go out on the bike. Like I said, I ordered a helmet and an action camera, and I ordered an external mic that goes up that I can put up inside the helmet. And I ordered the piece for the front of the helmet, that way I can put the actual action camera right here instead of having it on the side or at the top or someplace like that. So just to let you guys know that that's going to happen. But anyways, if you guys have any questions or concerns or anything like that, please let me know down in the comment section. Make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button, you know, and the like button or the dislike button. If you guys dislike the video, you know, hey, you know, it's all good. Either way, you know, I mean, the video is going up. You guys can watch it, and yeah, hope to see you guys out on the road. All right, I'm out.